Good afternoon and welcome to the Beacons Broadcasting Network. Along with Matt Meisenbacher, I am John Skudris, getting you set for the debut of the 2018-19 UMass-Boston Beacons men's hockey campaign as your Beacons get set for their lone exhibition slate of the season against a familiar foe, the same exhibition team they faced last year, the Eastern Hockey League All-Stars. Just a year ago, these two teams battled right here at Clark Athletic Center, and it was a doozy as the Beacons outshot the EHL All-Stars 58-14, yet were only able to come out with a 3-2 triumph, thanks to some late magic from Nolan Redler. The Beacons return most of the same faces, sans Colin Larkin, of course, their star from the last few years, and, of course, the additions of a few players, freshmen, including Nolan Egbert at goal, who, of course, started against the Beacons and was dominant a year ago. And, Matt, as we get set for our inaugural debut here on the Beacons Broadcasting Network in 2018-19. First, nice to be back with you again for another year of Beacons hockey. But this is going to be an interesting campaign because the Beacons are going at it without Colin Larkin, their star from the last couple of years, their catalyst offensively. How do you anticipate this season unfolding, and how critical is a solid start when you're dealing without a superstar like Larkin?
It's tough. I don't know how you replace a guy like that. I think obviously playing professional hockey's in the AHL now, a once, it's an overused term, but a once-in-a-generation talent, and UMass-Boston was fortunate enough to get him for 4 years. He's gone. Going to have to replace that scoring. Going to be a tough task. Going to look to Nolan Redler, obviously the guy that everyone knows about. He's been putting up a lot of points going into his junior year, but the guy I'm really interested in this season is Bross. I think he's due. His sophomore season, and I know a lot of talk about the sophomore slump, but what we saw from him freshman year was outstanding, and he's only gotten better. He's been working tirelessly in the offseason, and coming into this campaign, I think he's going to be the unsung hero for the Beacons this year.
Bross starting today on a line with Nolan Redler and Chris Peters, who played for the EHL All-Stars a year ago, a freshman entering his first year on Beaconville. Going to be interesting to see how that works out. Nick Albano, another sophomore who's looking to avoid that dreaded slump after a fantastic freshman campaign. Now, when you take a look at a year ago, 58-14, the Beacons outshot the EHL, but it was Nolan Egbert, the netminder, who stopped over 40 shots against the Beacons en route to that tough loss for the EHL All-Stars. He's a member of UMass-Boston now, and I spoke to Corey Schneider, assistant coach, before the game, and he said that Egbert will play the third period. We have Bailey McBurney playing the second. We have Anthony D'Urso, a senior, playing the first. 3 goalies, only one can start for this team. Yeah. What is your mindset going forward here on what Coach Belisle, having played for him in net, is going to do?
Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me, if we go back now, probably about 5-6 years. I'm dating myself a little bit, but going into my sophomore year, we graduated a goaltender in Kevin Bendel, and we lost a goaltender who ended up leaving the school. And so it was me. Coach brought in 2 other guys, and it was a very similar scenario. Pretty much a toss-up. The best goaltender is going to take the seat. Coach Belisle has no reservations about starting the hot hand, and I know McBurney has been the starter for a long time. He's going to have a little bit of leeway, a little bit longer leash, I think, than some of these other guys like D'Urso and Egbert. But I'll tell you what, D'Urso's been battling. I think it's a sign for him to start the first period. That tells you a little something. I don't want to read too far into it, but you would usually typically start McBurney here. It's kind of interesting to start D'Urso, and then I think this Egbert kid is going to push them both. I mean, you talked about what he did here a year ago, and now he's on the other side of the ice with the Beacons. And just a side piece too. You talk about these games. I'm surprised more organizations and teams don't do it. I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, it makes total sense. It's a great way for the Beacons to warm up and get ready for the year, and for the AHL All-Stars, a great way to get some looks. I've already seen a lot of colleges and some head coaches in the building tonight.
Absolutely. Scouting abound here for the exhibition affair against the AHL All-Stars. Of course, this is a doubleheader for the AHL All-Stars, so we'll see how their legs are. Last night they played at Plymouth State, a MASCAC team that won 19 games a year ago in that conference. Now, not quite the level of the NEHC, but the AHL held tight again against a D3 squad in Plymouth State, losing just 3-1, including an empty netter by the Panthers of Plymouth State. Dominic Marcinkiewicz had the only goal. He's the youngest player for the AHL All-Stars, born in May of 2001, and yet Neil Raven, the communications director for the EHL, said he's the player to keep an eye on, one of their best players, yet their youngest, as he and the EHL All-Stars held Plymouth State to within 1 goal for much of that game last night. It's going to be interesting to see how UMass-Boston fares today against a team that gave them their all just 1 year ago. Right now, let's take a look at highlights of that battle from 2017, a 3-2 UMass-Boston victory right here on the Beacons Broadcasting Network.